One of the most common things that someone will say in an interrogation is, "I didn't do it." Welcome to the Totally Innocent Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Reichen. Come with me on a journey into the world's most famous murder cases every Wednesday on all major podcast platforms. We take a look at the mind of a killer, how they lived, where they grew up, when they got caught, and where they're at now. Are all of them guilty? Or are some of them totally innocent? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Totally Innocent Podcast, a brand new podcast over here at Canceled Cult Productions. Okay, if you're a fan of collecting dust, if you're a fan of Suspiracy, I hope you will be a fan of this episode, of this show, and this episode, to be honest with you. I'm your host, Alex. Marissa is not with me today. I don't know if she will be a part of this podcast or not. But I have lately had a fascination with true crime, right? If you haven't listened to Dan Cummins' Time Suck, that's kind of where I got started with it, kind of where I got big into the true crime. Lately, YouTube videos have been making their rounds from last year, going over the psychology of certain murder trials, right? The psychology of people like Casey Anthony, Jodi Arias. There's a few other ones that I just find really, really fascinating. And I kind of wanted to put the information out there. Kind of wanted to make some content revolving around murderers. That's, comforting, right? Fantastic. But yeah. I'm a big fan of the true crime stuff. I just find it super, super interesting. So today, episode 1 of the Totally Innocent Podcast, we will be going over the case of Jodi Arias, and I'll play the intro to that story here in a minute. Normally, I will have an announcements segment. However, being the first episode today, I don't really think that there are any announcements other than you can find our Facebook over at facebook.com/canceledcult, or at Canceled Cult, whichever one you want to search, I guess. And you can find us over on YouTube by searching Canceled Cult Productions. We do not have a custom URL as of yet, but we do have a YouTube channel where we upload every single podcast, not just this one or Collecting Dust or Suspiracy. Every single podcast that we produce, we upload over at YouTube, so you can find us over there. Fantastic. So segment-wise, we will go announcements in the beginning, and then we will kind of go over the intro of the case, just a little introduction, and then we'll kind of get into the meat and potatoes of it all, and then find out where they're living. And then at the end of it, at the end of the podcast, we'll kind of go back, give thoughts on it a little bit, and then I want a segment where maybe, we go over listener mail. You can send an email over at canceledcultproductions@gmail.com, and you can let me know if there's a certain case you want me to take a look at, if there is anything that you want read on the podcast, if you want to swap viewership, and do a collaboration, co-host, things like that. You can send us an email, again, over at canceledcultproductions@gmail.com. And I think a viewer segment where we read things that people have sent in, I think that would just be really fun to close out the podcast. So if there's anything that you want to send, go for it. I think that is all we have for this little opening here, and we'll pop right into the case, and we will go ahead and play the intro that I recorded previously, and then get into it. On July 9th, 1980, expecting parents William and Sandra Arias met their newborn baby girl. Fantastic. Jodi was said to be a carefree, aspiring photographer. She was also said to have a very bubbly personality. She also had a positive outlook on life, evidently. Until she became a fucking murderer. Welcome to the Totally Innocent Podcast. I'm your host, Alex, and in this episode, we will be taking a look at the case of Jodi Arias. The gruesome details of her crime, how she got caught, and where she is today. Actually, there is a new documentary out there covering this case as well. So when you are done here, if you want to know more, you can check out Killer Girlfriend, the Jodi Arias story. And I don't know what platform that is streaming on. And I don't know where you can find it, but it's out there if you want some more information on the case. It's a good one. Our tale begins in 2006 when a young Jodi met Travis Alexander. Travis was a motivational speaker, a salesman, and a devout Mormon. The two had met at a convention for Travis's company in 2006. Jodi, being a hot girl summer type, obviously, decided that she wanted to start the trend of being a young woman working a pyramid scheme. And since Facebook wasn't infested with all my old friends and classmates trying to sell me knives and fucking healthcare supplements, there's nothing that I could find that would refute that fact. That Jodi was a pioneer. Great. So being a murderer isn't her only crime here. In all seriousness, though, she was looking for job opportunities in network marketing vis-a-vis pyramid schemes and ran into Mr. Alexander at the convention. The two hit it off right away, but they lived pretty far apart, but did attempt a long-distance relationship. Friends of the two have said things like in the beginning the two were smitten with each other and had a potent chemistry. Like super potent. Like, hey, I'm a Mormon, hardcore, but like we're still going to have sex, hardcore. If you didn't know, this goes against one of the most important principles of the Mormon faith, so oopsie. That's a bad look there. Later on, Travis's friends would say that he felt guilt about the relationship due to his faith, and it was weighing on him. They would say soon after the relationship became volatile, but that it didn't affect Jodi the same. One person even saying that Jodi had shown obsessive stalkery vibes early on in the relationship. The two were together for 5 months, and then the relationship was over. The two had broken up, and this is where things start to get weird, uncomfortable, and tragic. This is your warning as we dive in to the case of Jodi Arias. I'm going to be honest with you, man. The breakup was not sitting right with young Jodi Arias at the time. Maybe she thought that if she could move closer, things could be different. So shortly after the breakup, she decided to pack her things, pack up her life, and move over to Mesa, California. This is where Travis lives. She wanted to move there so she could be closer to Travis. Weird, since he clearly didn't want to be in a relationship anymore. So that's, kind of a red flag. I could almost see this working, for two people that are smitten for each other when they break up and one person moves closer to try to fix what went wrong. And pretty sure this is my mom's favorite Lifetime movie. Things started to get weird. Travis's friends would tell news outlets that she would just show up at the house, come right on in, uninvited completely. Evidently, she knew the code to the door at his house and would just pop in whenever she pleased. Red flag number 1. Friends have also told news outlets that she would literally sneak into his house through the fucking doggy door. That's red flag 2 and 3. 3 strikes, you're out, Jodi. All right? This is getting a little weird now. Despite the weird stalkery vibes that she was putting out, though, I can't help but to feel bad for Jodi in this instance right here. Not for everything, because yes, what she did was insane, literally. It was insane, wrong, and the way that the story ends is just absolutely tragic. But friends did tell news that even though he would complain about her showing up randomly or just sneaking in, that sometimes he'd be mad, but other times he would just jump into bed with her. So, I mean, what is it? Perhaps some sort of mental illness that was plaguing her, and when he was giving in and feeding the flame, I mean, that couldn't have helped her, I think. It couldn't have helped her think that what she was doing was wrong. So, I don't know. And while all of this was going on, Mr. Alexander began dating another woman. Jodi, clearly not a fan, would act out in fun ways, like slashing tires of the new girlfriend, knocking on the door of her home, and totally ding-dong ditching. Okay, we're going back to the 90s, playing some fun games. So in June of 2008, Travis was planning to attend a company retreat with a Mormon woman that he was pursuing at the time, though still intimate with Jodi. Not cool. He would never make it to the retreat, though. Instead, his friends would find his body 5 days later in his home in Mesa. His throat had been cut ear to ear. He was stabbed 27 times and shot in the head. Some reports say that he was stabbed 29 times. Most say 27. The general consensus, however, is that it was more than 20. Crazy, right? The gun that was used to shoot Travis in the head was believed to be a .25 caliber pistol, I believe. Coincidentally, a gun had been stolen from Jodi's grandparents' house, matching this exact caliber just weeks before the murder. It was believed during the trial that Jodi had somehow set up this robbery so it would look like someone stole the gun from the home and not ideally trace back to her, which, come on. Yeah, I don't know. After he was killed, but before the body had been discovered, Jodi would call his cell phone and leave voicemails. The first one happening the same night as the murder. And after she killed Mr. Alexander and left his home, she called and left a long voicemail mentioning that she was traveling, got lost, and was making jokes that the two had joked about in the past, like, "Oh, I got turned around. Oh, you always say that I get turned around. Blah blah blah." Things like this. Things that they would understand, so she could ideally, when the police heard it, they wouldn't think to look at her as a suspect because, I'm out on the road, sort of thing, right? And this lovely bit of instant karma has to be my favorite thing about the case right here. While searching the crime scene, police discovered a brand new, though damaged, camera in the washing machine. When questioned about it in a phone interview with the detectives, Jodi had said that she did not know a possible motive for why somebody would want to destroy the camera. The images on the SD card had been wiped. Wiped, unless you've ever seen an episode of CSI in your fucking life. Forensics brought that shit to life. They brought it back. They were able to restore some of the images. Images of Mr. Alexander and Jodi engaging in sexual intercourse the day of Travis's death, as well as a shot of Travis in the shower. Crazy. Crazy what science and crime scene text can actually do. What Jodi did not expect to happen was that the camera accidentally took photos of the crime while it was in progress. That is right. Somehow, and God only knows, the camera snapped a couple photos of the murder. One of the images was believed to be Travis profusely bleeding on the floor. And in that photo, a picture of a person's shoe and pant leg were also snapped. This, along with a bloody handprint left in the bathroom that had DNA matching a mixture of both Travis and Jodi's blood, and a spent .25 caliber casing found in the bathroom. This was enough for the police to make the arrest. Yeah, and in the interrogation, which lasted a long time, Jodi she shows no remorse at all. No remorse, and instead just goes on crazy tangents. Jodi was arrested at her grandparents' house on June 5th, 2008. While being interviewed by detectives, she would often go on several-minute tangents. Several minutes. This is what I was just talking about things in life not pertaining to the case or her innocence. It's like she didn't realize why she was there. She would ramble about spirituality, what her family did for fun, her photography, tons of different shit. She would give police 3 different accounts of her whereabouts that night of the murder. The first being that she was on a trip out of state at the time of the murder. The second being, okay, maybe I was there, but I didn't kill Travis. 2 masked assailants attacked us and just so happened to let me live. And the third, and finally, being, okay, I guess I kind of killed him. But, it was self-defense, He told me if I snuck in the doggy door again without his permission, he was going to be pissed. So give me a fucking break. The third would be the strategy that Jodi's defense team would use, that she had killed Travis in self-defense. At the start of the trial, the prosecution would seek the death penalty, but the defense argued against it, claiming self-defense. During the trial, Jodi did take the stand on behalf of herself. This testimony lasted for a total of 18 days. And in my research and probably best guess, it was probably 16 days of Spirituality 101 and 2 days of how to change the ISO on your DSLR. After 18 days of grueling torture, the jury came back after deliberating for 15 hours with a guilty verdict. Guilty of first-degree murder. When the verdict was being read, it was reported that there were audible cheering in the courtroom. Nice. Several appeals have been made to try to get the verdict changed. This is yet to be accepted or heard. Jodi Arias was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The cost of the trial, is it to the taxpayers? I'm not sure. By the end of the whole thing was an estimated $3 million. Crazy. That's crazy. And I watched this interrogation footage, man. It's bananas. Okay. At one point, I believe she went off on a 30-minute tangent, not related to the case, not related to her innocence, but talking about some fucking spirituality, dude. Like, it's actually fascinating, and I don't know. I'm gonna pop on up to YouTube here and see if I can see this guy's channel, because I highly recommend anybody going to check out all of his videos. JCS-criminal psychology, and I'm going to link that and link his channel into the show notes, because he's got a bunch of really good videos just going over the psychology of the people in interrogation rooms, and it's so fascinating. But yeah, Jodi Arias is a piece of work. Absolute piece of work. She knew what she did. She absolutely knows what she did. She killed a man, tried to doctor up the crime scene, left a voicemail, which you can actually hear the voicemail on JCS Criminal Psychology's videos. You can hear the voicemail where she's clearly joking, right? It's not like she's worried. It's not like she's beat up. It's not like she's upset at all. And it makes your stomach churn a little bit. The voicemail, she's talking about, you always say that I get turned around. I'm a big dumb idiot. And I'm paraphrasing, but she's joking about, what the two would talk about in the past, something that they would just know. And then try to throw the detectives off at every turn, right? Saying things like, I was out of town. No, I don't know who would do anything to Travis. Is there any way that I can talk to the parents? She went on the news talking about how terrible it was, and she really hopes that they, find who did this, and totally claiming innocence, only to come out not long after and say, okay, maybe I did kill him, but there were two masked assailants in our fucking house stabbing him 27 times. He's still coherent at this point, even though his throat's been slit and he's been stabbed. They're going to shoot him. They say that they're going to kill me, but then they don't. What? You just witnessed a crime, a very heinous crime, in which you could easily help police apprehend the suspects, and instead you leave, rent a car, and drive 2,800 miles to make it look like you're innocent. So, the cost of the car to make it look like you're on a road trip, leaving voicemails for Travis, and then only to find out that, okay, maybe I was in the house, and these masked assailants are trying to kill us, doesn't look good. And when the cops don't buy it, well, okay, then I did kill Travis. I killed him. But, he was coming at me. He was in the shower, and he body slammed me when I was across the room taking pictures of his naked body in the shower, which he did not like. There was no consent. He body slammed her, is what she says. How? If he's in the shower, and there is pictures on JCS Criminal Psychology video, that there's like a glass door or something, I think. Either way, if he's not getting out of the shower, which didn't make sense with the crime scene, there's no way that he's body slamming you. But yeah, she claimed self-defense. She was, ultimately, nobody believed that. 15 hours of deliberation with the jury, came back guilty of first-degree murder. And I believe 7 jurors also voted in favor of premeditated. Is first-degree premeditated? I'm not sure. There were 2 charges on it. That she was, that they gave the verdict for. Absolutely crazy. Sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And the trial cost $3 million. That's insane. And she went on the stand for herself for 18 days. Yikes. And there's videos out there showing the prosecution just tearing her apart on the stand. And she has a bad habit of not really answering the whole question. Instead, still going off on tangents. So, yeah, throw this chica in prison, my guy. Totally deserves to be there. So this is the case, and what happened to her. Again, I definitely recommend checking out this documentary. I definitely am going to after watching those videos and doing some research here. Yeah, it's just a crazy case. The crazy case of Jodi Arias. So now we'll hop on over and we will take a look at where Jodi is today, how things are going, and what life in prison is like. And since I record the show in like split up segments, there was something else that I wanted to mention about the trial itself. So as mentioned, her defense team decided to stick with the strategy of self-defense when it came to the trial. And they actually put Travis's ex-girlfriends on the stand, presumably the same women that Jodi would slash her tires, ding-dong ditch, etc., and just give them a hard time. When on the stand, these women were asked if Travis had ever abused them the way that he had abused Jodi. Now, just to be clear and frank, I do not believe necessarily that this would be considered abuse, but this was what they were going off of. I would consider it dirty talk, sexy time, but this is what they were going off of. So one of the ex-girlfriends was asked if Travis had ever called her a whore, if he had ever sent her sexual text messages, and if they had ever engaged in sexual acts over the phone, in which at one point during the trial, a phone sex tape was leaked of Jodi and Travis, in which that audio clip, you can hear Travis tell Jodi Arias that he wants to, quote, tie her to a tree and fuck her in the ass, unquote. So this was what they were going off of, right? The fact that he would talk to Jodi like this in some sort of abusive manner eventually led Jodi to kill him. And like I said, I don't buy it, but this is what they were. That's the angle they were trying to play. So, where is Jodi today? Well, if you said anything other than prison, you'd be fucking wrong. At one point in her imprisonment, she was housed with two people, one Tracy Brown and Donovan Bering. The two had been imprisoned on kidnapping and arson-related charges, according to Lifetime. And when they were out, Brown and Bering did speak with Lifetime about sharing a cell with Jodi. She's got to be just the best roommate, right? I'm sure there's Cutco knives everywhere. I'm sure there is health supplements. I'm sure they were ready to go. They used the words manipulative. That's complete 180 than what I was thinking. They claimed that Jodi would use her good looks and sexuality to try to manipulate the male guards in the prison. Manipulate for what? I don't believe they ever stated. At least the article did not tell me. Brown and Bering were involved romantically. Also claimed that Jodi would even inject herself into the two's relationship at the time. The term striptease was mentioned. Giggity. Though they say that they never engaged with her in physical sex acts, they did mention that when they were having sex, Jodi would simply refuse to leave the room. She just, I don't even know what kink that would be, where, one lover is sitting in the corner, watching the act, but that's pretty reminiscent of that. But the couple, Tracy and Donovan, Brown and Bering, did get married. And get this shit. Jodi was the officiant. What? What do you mean, brother? I now pronounce you wife and wife. Would you like to try this new collagen supplement? It's just 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon and it belly blasts that fat off your fucking body. What do you say? Oh my God, get this shit though. The bananas thing, to me, while in prison, Jodi, why do I keep saying Joey? Jodi decided that she wanted to spend her time focusing on artwork. The next Van Gogh, if you will. Inmates were allowed paper, and she was able to purchase colored pencils from the commissary. And if she did want to release her property to someone outside, she can do that. That's what the sheriff's office said at the time. Jodi had worked with 2 auctioneers on eBay to sell her art on the internet. What in the actual fuck? According to Forbes, her current net worth is between $1 and $5 million. Holy shit. $1 and $5 million selling artwork from prison on eBay. What's the split on that for the auctioneers, bro? You can give me a call anytime you want, Jodi. I got an eBay account. We can work something out. But yeah, so evidently she's living her best life in prison. She did at one point tell her fellow inmates in her cell that she would attempt to sell them some knives, but the market in prison for culinary tools just wasn't there at the time. That, of course, is not true. But bananas. $1 and $5 million. $1 and $5 million. So yeah, evidently she's using her looks, using her sexuality to manipulate the male guards in the prison. Not sure what for, but good for her. And we also found out that she is an officiant. She can just marry off people. I now pronounce you wife and wife. Holy shit. Insane. This has been the case of Jodi Arias. Photographer, turned murderer, turned high-end art dealer? I don't know. We'll let you decide. But yeah, banana bonkers. Banana bonkers. Thank you guys so much for listening to the case of Jodi Arias. I appreciate it a lot. We will hop on over to the closing of the podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening to Totally Innocent this week. I don't know if this podcast is going to be a weekly podcast or bi-weekly podcast or once a month. I'm not sure, and it isn't probably going to be the longest podcast out there, right? 20, 30 minutes, probably just a mini cast, sort of. But yeah, I greatly appreciate you stopping by. If you've come over from Collecting Dust or Suspiracy or the YouTube channel that I promoted on over at McCavityCat, youtube.com/C/McCavityCat. I do a lot of collectible stuff over there if anybody is interested. But yeah, I just have this infatuation with true crime. Go figure, right? So I had to make a podcast about it. Again, go figure. Yeah, bananas. Again, at this point in the podcast, I would like to do something fun, read something from the viewers, anything that listeners have to say, and want to send on an email over to cancelcultproductions@gmail.com. I'll go ahead and read it on the air here. And yeah, I got the sniffles a little bit. Shucky darns. But yeah, I think that would be a fun segment. So yes. If you also want to send an email over and give me any ideas of who you would want to hear a case on coming up in the following episodes, you can go ahead and do that as well. In the meantime, we'll continue on. I believe I want to do Casey Anthony next. I think that was a weird one too. But yeah, again, thank you guys so much for listening. This has been Totally Innocent Podcast. This has been the Totally Innocent Podcast. I will see you next week, next 2 weeks, or next month. One of the three, you'll find out. Until then, take care.